Looking somewhat frustrated, Mayor Anise Parker announced that the city has narrowed its subpoena request in the ongoing lawsuit about putting the Equal Rights Ordinance on the ballot.
We don't want their sermons. We want the instructions on the petition process. That's always what we wanted.
But the change in the legal language has not quelled the firestorm that erupted when the subpoenas first came to light 4 days ago.
Had to be a joke, or at the very least a bad one, when the mayor of Houston had subpoenas issued for all sermons and communications from specific pastors. The first reaction had to be, in some places, laughter. I mean, why would the city need such documents? What purpose would it serve? And then there's that pesky freedom of religion thing. But from a legal standpoint, plenty of experts point out this is nothing against the law, just something that has been rarely, if ever, used in such a manner. All right, let's unravel, let the introspection begin. Let's welcome into Midpoint the Executive Director of the Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation, Lea Carawan. And from the legal side, welcome back visiting criminal law scholar at the University of Houston Law Center, Melissa Hamilton. Ladies, thank you both for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Melissa, I'm going to start with you on this one because this story actually begins back in May when the City Council passed by an 11-6 vote an Equal Rights Ordinance that banned discrimination based on sex, race, and national origin, as well as sexual orientation and gender identity. If you just start there, in essence, you could see what they were doing, but was the law just so badly and broadly written that this is where we got into the problem here?
I don't think so, and that's really not at the heart of what's going on here in terms of the subpoenas. So really what it is simply an expansion of equal protection and anti-discrimination laws, and the expansion really was to the LGBT community, so the lesbian, gay, transgendered community, and that's where the issue seems to have affected some religious perspectives.
So from your perspective then, let me just make sure that we're clear. From the writing of the law itself as it got started there and looking at it from a legal perspective, was it, in your opinion, well written, well put together, and at least spoke to specifically what they were looking to do?
I think the law itself, yes, was sometimes when you're drafting laws, you have an issue between balancing being too broad versus being too specific and there being loopholes. So again, I don't think that's really at the heart of the subpoenas that are at issue here.
All right, so now let me go ahead and turn to you, Lea, when it comes down to the subpoenas themselves. I mean, this created an absolute firestorm here because so many people saw the government getting involved in what is their basic religious freedoms. Is that how you saw it and your organization sees it?
Well, absolutely. Of course, that's just the beginning of it. It starts with throwing out the petitions, pre-verified petitions, and then it goes into the fact that they want to subpoena five pastors, their sermons, their communication broadly. And here's the thing, the purpose of a pastor in the pulpit, in the church, is to promote Judeo-Christian values and biblical principles. And so, of course, that's what they're going to be preaching, and there's no need whatsoever for the government, the city mayor, to subpoena their sermons or their communications to constituents. It makes absolutely no sense. It's clearly a fishing expedition to try to come against some folks that really got in the way of the agenda of the mayor, and she doesn't like it.
Okay, you mentioned the agenda. Now I got a minute, and then we're going to take a break, come back and talk a little more. But to you now, Lea, right here, what about those who would say the Judeo-Christian values in some instances speak to hate against the LGBT community, and that's what that is meant to ferret out and stop?
Oh, that's absolutely absurd. The Christian religion is the complete opposite of that. We absolutely support religious freedom for every single human being. You can believe whatever you want. We're not interested in making sure that you don't believe in those things. You absolutely can, and you have rights like everybody else. But that doesn't mean the nation itself doesn't have laws and policies that reflect Judeo-Christian values. And that's what we're saying. Then
why do you think the mayor or whomever drafted this thought they could get away with this?
I haven't the foggiest idea. I think I think it's puzzled the entire Christian community. Not really, though, because there's a lot of us that understand this is not an isolated incident. This is an ongoing trend to try to silence Christians and remove God and remove Judeo-Christian values, principles from the nation and from the foundation of the country.
All right, now you mentioned the words ongoing trend in there, so we're going to touch on that when we come back, and also a little bit more about what this law does. Ladies, please stand by on the other side of the break. Over the law, city government, and religious sermons, let's figure out where it all comes into play here, and is indeed this something of a trend? And why would you think you can get away with it? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more later on this hour, when it's a bad idea to be an elected official, all lubed up and then meet with the constituents. Yes, it is indeed an elected official. And yes, indeed, it means we're heading for Outland. That and much more coming up right here on Midpoint, where we question everything.